how do you deal with a soon-to-be ex that has turned all 5 of our children against me? Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. This is hard, and this is what I would do. Hopefully some of them are adults, but even if they're not, I would do this. I would make it clear to your kids, hey, I am always here for you no matter what. I know that your dad has kind of told you a lot of things that aren't true, or whatever you want to say, told you things about me that made you feel differently, but know that I'm your mom and I'm always here for you. I've always got your back. Then I would send Christmas cards, birthday cards every year and see them as much as you're allowed to see them legally. If they're living with you, then there's a lot more you can do. Go to therapy, get some help like that with a family. If they're living with him, then my previously stated advice is what it is. If they are adults, same thing. See them as much as you can. Send them a card every Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever and birthday, and just say, I love you. I'm always here for you. Call me whenever you're ready to hang out or talk or whatever. So that's the kids. As far as he goes, I would simply back away from him, of course, and anyone that you feel like might be his flying monkey. And then I would go about the business of looking around you and seeing who's left. Who do you think you can trust? If there are people that you can trust around you, then say to them once only, if you know me, you know I didn't do the things he's accusing me of doing. And watch their responses. If they respond with, girl, of course I know you didn't do that. Those are your people. If they respond with, well, I don't know, you've changed lately, or he really said all this stuff and I really believe what he's saying, you might need to take a couple steps back, even if that's your family and your friends that you had before him. These people have a way of making you feel powerless, right? And so going through all of that, it's almost impossible to change anything. So I would not scream and yell about it. I would not, put a bunch of drama on Facebook about it. I would simply speak to each individual person who you believe is affected, who you believe you can trust, and tell them exactly what I said. If you know me, you know I didn't do those things. And then move forward. Step back from people who believe him and don't believe you. And be careful even with the people who believe you at this point, because you need to make sure that they really are on your side, because narcissists have a way of turning, like I said, even our closest friends and family against them, especially if they are the charming type. Hi, Angie. My daughter's having issues with my grandsons coming home from dads with very bad language and behavior. What can she do? This is tough. I would say, number one, calmly and clearly state the rules at her house. This is where she has to engage in parallel parenting, right? Because you cannot co-parent with a narcissist effectively. So she needs to parent her way at her house. And when they go to his house, he's going to parent his way. And the best thing she can do is sort of minimize the damage. So when they come home, things are consistent, things are predictable up to a point. Of course, she should do nice things for the kids, but she shouldn't tolerate them cussing and being mean to her and stuff like that. He's probably intentionally getting them all riled up. I don't know how old they are, but I certainly know that narcissists have been known to intentionally like sugar their kids up or whatever and get them all buzzed up so that they go home and they're mean to their moms or dads. I would suggest that she tell them, these are the rules at our house and this is how it's going to be. And if they don't respect that, then she enforces whatever punishment she has for them that's within a healthy limit. Maybe they go to their room. You could try to talk to the dad, but I wouldn't if I were you. I would say she could, but I suspect that it will just be fruitless. I would have her say, when you're at your dad's house, you follow the rules at your dad's house. When you're here at home, these are the rules that we follow at home. Maybe explain that depending on how old they are, adults think, hearing children say bad words is a sign of, a lack of intelligence or whatever it is that you need, that she needs to say to them. It's been 9 months since no contact, but I feel like he still gets to me through the kids. We are working on healing, but one weekend visit with him and we're back to square one. Yeah, he's going to try to get to you through the kids. And so deal with your kids at home. Don't react. Like, even if your kids say, dad said this, dad said that, just do your best to kind of develop a poker face, right? So gray rock a little bit. And so you're going to say, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's very nice. Whatever. Keep it really, really, really shallow. Don't comment on it, but do write down what they say and dates and times, because you never know, what that could benefit you in the future in court or whatever. And then in the meantime, enforce your rules at home as they are. Do your best to try to stay calm, because number one, if you get upset every time they say something that dad said or did, then they're going to stop telling you those things because they're going to think it bothers you. And they won't want to upset or hurt you. Number two, you want them to keep talking. You want them to keep telling you the things that he's saying and doing, just in case. Yeah, I would stay calm. I would keep keep calm and carry on. But I would also, stay focused on, these are the rules at our house. This house, we do this way. This, you know what I mean? Parallel parenting, all that stuff. But listen to them when they talk and react as little as possible, and then write it down so you know for later if you need to. You know how good they are at gaslighting and denying and deflecting, all that. I left my abuser and he is making everything difficult and won't wrap it up and follow the decree. We've been divorced almost a year. That's common, as I'm sure a lot of people here can tell you. My suggestion to you is to go strictly by the book as much as possible. If he doesn't show up when he's supposed to show up, document it. Write down the day and the time and what happened. If he, wants to pick up your kid on a day that's different than the day they're supposed to, same thing. Write down the date and what happened. If, he's supposed to be paying you child support or spousal support, doesn't do it, write down the day and what happened. Report all of this to the court as needed. And I see, won't wrap it up and follow the decree. We've been divorced almost a year. At this point, Shelley, unless you're in a situation where you are dependent on him for something, I would do my very best to just stop focusing on him and try to start actually living your life. Smear campaigns are the worst, very disturbing. They are family terrorists. The smear campaigns are brutal, and you're so right. It's so brutal because you end up feeling completely alone and you're accused of something you didn't do. It's the worst feeling in the world. I'll tell you, this is a silly example, but when I was a kid, I remember going Christmas shopping with a certain narcissist in my life, and that person assumed that I had looked in a bag and seen something in the bag that I wasn't supposed to see. And I did not look in the bag. I'm telling you right now, all these years later, it never happened. But I got physically punished for looking in this bag. And I remember thinking, gosh, I wish I'd really done it now. But that's like a little mini version of what a smear campaign feels like, because you didn't do the things that they're saying you did. And yet you're being punished for saying, for them saying, you know what I mean? Not that you really want to do the things, but the feeling of, gosh, I didn't do this and I'm being punished. It's a horrible feeling. We don't have to justify, argue, defend, or explain ourselves. That's the truth. And that's why when I said, when somebody mentioned a smear campaign earlier, I said, you just tell them once. You tell the people you trust once. If you know me, you know I didn't do that. And that's it. And then if they don't know you well enough to know you didn't do that, you step back 2 steps emotionally and you deal with stuff. And then when you're ready, when you're healed and you're ready to move forward, maybe you reevaluate that person's place in your life and decide if they should stay in your life or not. Maybe they can, because maybe you understand why they felt the way they did. Or maybe they can't, because maybe you don't understand, or you know they should have believed you and they chose not to. I've been hoovered twice, not again, but I'm so angry. His words rip my soul out. Yeah, I totally get that. They say the most painful things. They say the things that they know will hurt you the most, and they don't have any remorse. And the only time you might see a touch of remorse is when they're trying to suck you back in and get something that they want from you. It's always easier said than done. We don't know everybody's situation, but I mean, if you are capable of leaving, then leave. It's really easy to get stuck in situations like that, even when you don't have kids, but especially when you do. But sometimes they force you to stop working and they make you dependent on them, and they bring it to you like, I want to take care of you. But then in real life, they want to control you. Even as a kid growing up with a certain narcissist in my life, I kept hearing, this person would tell stories about things I was supposed to remember that never happened, or that I didn't recall, or that I recalled differently. And if I didn't go along with the story, I was in trouble. Although I know this is due to narc abuse, I feel a failure to myself, my kids, and my superiors at my workplace. I know you feel that way, and I understand how that feels, but please don't beat yourself up like that. I suspect, in fact, I'm pretty sure your kids don't feel like you're a failure. And I bet you that your office people don't feel like you're a failure either. You're not a failure, you're a success. You survived and got out of a horrible, abusive relationship. You deserve to love yourself and to let yourself be loved. What you're hearing in your head is almost like the voice of the narcissist and the other abusive people from your past, still abusing you. So when you hear yourself saying, oh, I'm not good enough, or, oh, they're disappointed in me, I want you to do your very best to push that right out of your head, okay? Make sure that you don't let those thoughts be your thoughts. Push them out of your head. Remind yourself, I don't have to think those things anymore. I'm not dealing with my abusers anymore. That's their mess, not mine. I like to imagine when I have too much trouble getting somebody out of my head, I like to imagine them sitting in like a little wheelchair in the back of my brain. And then I like to imagine myself crawling up a little ladder right up the back of my neck and popping in there and pushing the wheelchair really hard right out my nose. And it's a silly little thing. It's a good pattern interrupt to try when you're feeling that way. And, if you can blow your nose after, even better. But it's a good way to kind of make yourself laugh a little bit and get it out of your head. It's important at this point in your healing, Nargis, to start literally pushing those thoughts out of your head so that you can continue to thrive and live better and have the life you want. Does that make sense? There are some narcissists who really are just so self-focused that they don't even, they literally don't recognize other people's pain. They have literally no empathy. And especially when they themselves are not getting exactly what they want at any given moment. Suzanne says, don't feed the narcissist. They eat our attention. Actually, that's not far off from the truth. She's right. Attention serves as narcissistic supply. And if they can get an emotional reaction from you, even better, So really, the worst thing you can do to a narcissist, the meanest, most vengeful thing you could do is to ignore them and pretend they don't exist and then go live your life really, really well. I know that sounds too simple, but the idea of you living happily without them and them not being on your radar, that's the worst nightmare for a narcissist. Every narcissist, every toxic person follows a similar pattern in every relationship they're in. On a high level, it looks like the love bombing, the idealization phase. And then it goes into the, wait a minute, you're a human? And then we're hitting the devalue phase. Now that they noticed you're human, they're going to start picking apart all your little flaws and everything that could possibly be wrong with anybody. And they'll make a lot up as well. They'll say all the mean things to you. They'll make you cry. They'll make you feel worthless. You're getting devalued. Before you know it, you're discarded, whether that's actually dumping you or that's I just don't talk to you for 3 days or whatever it is. It's a form of the discard. You're emotionally discarded, if not actually discarded. Then once you think you're starting to heal and you're getting stuff cleared up, and maybe even sooner than that, well, then they come back with the Hoover and they want to suck you back in. A lot of times this will go in the same relationship cyclically throughout decades. How do you really let go and not want to reach out that first week? It's so painful. And I know logically he is terrible for me. It is hard. It's really hard. Distract yourself as much as you can during that first week. Even though you're doing the right thing logically, your heart is going to be screaming. You're going to have to help yourself in the same way that you would help a friend or a child. So for example, let's just say that somebody you loved was addicted to a drug, okay? And you knew that even one little tiny bit of that drug would instantly reactivate their addiction and you would lose them again. It's like that. They are literally like a drug to your body right now because of the trauma bonding. And so you have to look at it like you're detoxing from a drug. It hurts. You cry a lot, shake a little, but once you get through that first, week or two, it gets a little better. And then you work on your intentional healing and it gets better and better. It's not going to be easy, but the one thing I did wrong in my case was I didn't let myself fully experience my emotions because I had a kid and because someone in my life was telling me that these are the choices you have made. That's another story for another day. But I felt that I needed to be strong and not fall. And I should have processed my emotions at that time. I didn't do it till much later. And so what I would say to you now is that let yourself cry if you need to cry. Let yourself scream and break things and throw things or whatever. Don't call them. Don't message them. Find yourself a no contact buddy if you need to. Somebody that has your back and that you can call or text at 3:00 in the morning and I'm just say, look, I'm really dying to text this person. I'm really dying to call this person. And even if they don't respond right away, they know that you might do this and they're okay with it and they can respond as soon as they're able to. And logically that is terrible for you. So I would suggest pattern interrupt if you can't stop in the moment. It's a way to calm down. It's a way to change your thought patterns, but then you still must deal with the emotions. So I suggest, one thing I like to do is have people write a letter to the narcissist to say all the things you didn't get to say, because part of the thing is you didn't get good closure from this person. So write a letter, say all the things that you need to say, and get all those emotions out on paper and really let yourself feel them. And then when you're ready, you can move forward. Is narcissistic abuse so bad that I can't heal the excruciating pain that has caused me to reduce my hours at work? I say I'll heal and I feel better, then boom, back to square one again. I'll tell you what, it is a process, but it's a process that has those moments where you have the 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. So when you find yourself kind of taking that 1 step back and feeling all that pain again, that's when it's important to really look around you and go, what am I doing to take care of myself? What can I do to take care of myself a little better? If you need to take a few hours off of work, then do that. But if you find that it's causing you financial harm and things like that, you might want to look into like a longer term solution for healing. So maybe you want to take a whole week off work and do a whole week of healing. Or maybe you just want to keep your hours reduced for a while and work that way. But it is very normal to have the ups and downs. So just keep trying, stay focused, don't give up. You can do this. I do know this. I know that narcissistic abuse totally throws us for a loop. But I also know that when we are parents and we go through narcissistic abuse, well, for me anyway, I think the only reason I survived as an adult was because I had a child. My child helped me to need to go on, right? And so I continued the business of daily life, and I, continued to make a home for him and, work and do all the things that I had to do to survive just because I had no choice in my mind. And so if you need to look at it that way to keep going, then do that. It's not easy and it doesn't take away all the pain, but sometimes just keeping yourself busy with the daily things that you have to do, it'll help you survive.